Buenas, buenas, buenas. I'm Vanessa, the host of Chicklet, a podcast where I share my unfiltered reviews of books that I think Latinas, women, and millennials would enjoy. Please subscribe and follow me on Instagram, TikTok, Spotify, YouTube, and YouTube Shorts at Chicklet Podcast, and enjoy today's episode on the book Cultura Cash by Giovanna Gonzalez. The way that this is the third time that I'm recording this episode, and you know what? In Austin, Texas, I think it's like 60, 65 degrees out. It's warm, honey. I'm warm, and I'm not mad at it. So we're outside, and my transition classes are showing you that I'm weird and I prefer convenience over fashion. Sorry, this is who I am. Anyways, back to today's episode. Gigi is a finfluencer that makes financial concepts easy to understand. From her website, Gigi says she's a money coach and is on a mission to empower first-generation students and young professionals of color entering the workplace to confidently manage their money, pay off debt, build generational wealth, and gain financial freedom. The first-generation Black, Indigenous, person of color experience often doesn't come with a roadmap to navigating higher education and professional spaces. As a first-gen Latina herself, Gigi experienced reaching the levels of success her family dreamed of, and having the desire to give back and uplift the same people who sacrificed so much to help get her there. She doesn't just talk a big game, she puts her money where her mouth is by getting the education, certification, and industry experience so she can share everything she's learned with us. This book was unapologetically written for the first-gen community, specifically first-gen Latinas. It has a sprinkle of Spanglish throughout the book and refers to common Latino dichos and beliefs we can all relate to. Cultura Cash is the culturally relevant book Gigi wishes she had as a young adult navigating money for the first time. All of this is super relatable to me and important for me to do an episode on, as I'm a first-gen Latina as well, and am passionate about education and finances and empowering people, specifically women and Latinas, to take charge of their lives. And finances are one of the most impactful ways to be able to accomplish that. In order to leave that dead-end job or leave that ancient significant other, you need to have the funds to do that. One of the things that sets this book aside is the fact that a lot of the money advice out there is outdated and unrelatable. Most financial books are written by older white male authors. They often write from an American individualistic point of view that heavily focuses on being independent and self-reliant and pulling yourself up by the bootstraps. American individualism encourages you to put your needs before everyone else's. It says that everyone is responsible for their own financial situation, every man for themselves. This could not be more different from what was expected and accepted in Gigi's household growing up. Her family's Mexican values follow more of a collectivist society where they take pride in tapping into community when facing financial hardships. Money is communal, it's there to help us all, and it's not embarrassing to ask for money. As a matter of fact, it shows how loved you are. For a lot of us, helping out financially is how we show respect and gratitude for those who gave so much to us. Doing all this while juggling significant student loan debt and having no other financial support is not easy. We want to financially support those we love without leaving ourselves behind. This is why we need a book that addresses the unique challenges our community faces. I personally, Vanessa, I'm on the receiving end of this philosophy. My mom made it a life goal of hers to never be a financial burden on me and my sister. She jokingly says that she never wants to live with us when she's unable to live alone. She tells us to just throw her in an old people home that her money will be paying for. She even got a life insurance policy recently that covers at-home care should she ever be bedridden. She does not want me and my sister's life to stop in order to care for her. My mom didn't know anything about applying for student loans. She didn't have any connections for me when I was looking for jobs. But if there's one thing that lady knows how to do, it's to save and invest your money. She saved over 30% of her income her entire working life here in America. She bought her home as a single mom of 2 young kids. She got an addition to the home, which increased the value significantly. She makes big purchases and pays them off quickly to avoid paying lots of interest. I remember asking her how she knew to do all these things. And she said, when your job brings financial advisors and they make the announcement, whether it's a mass email or on the loudspeaker, and they invite you to make a 15-minute appointment with them, my mom would go to every single one. I think she said that they would go twice a year. And she would go every single time and she would follow their advice. She would bring her paperwork. She would take notes. And she would only go to people twice if they were vetted by other people in her community as well. So again, this is where the communal thing comes in. Like, they were all looking out for each other. And now that she's older, she has me and my sister to rely on for big money decisions. All of us go to the same financial advisor, along with two of my cousins and their significant others, my aunt, my uncle and his wife, and my good friend Jane. I'm so thankful to my mom for taking care of herself financially. I'm able to live my life freely without having to worry about her well being. And if anything, she's still providing that safety net for me. If this podcast doesn't work out and I need a place to live or food in my belly, I can always go to my mom's house while I get myself back on my feet. I'm very fortunate to have a mom like mine. Gigi goes into great detail about how uncommon my experience is in the Latino community. Because of the systemic and purposeful barriers in place, our community is underpaid, overworked, and kept out of the loop. This makes our community see our kids as investments. We say they're going to graduate college, make more money, and be able to help us financially. And the kids want to do that too. But the way that the student loan crisis has our community in a chokehold, the current housing and job market, it's becoming less and less realistic to do so, considering our demographic is becoming more educated and is taking out more loans. It's almost feeling like a double-edged sword at this point. To start off lo bueno, I want to give kudos to Gigi because she does a really great job in describing the cultural expectations of our Latino culture while also explaining the reality we face being in the US, and gives us explicit suggestions on how to balance both in a way that serves us and our family. Being the first in her family to graduate college, Gigi had a false sense of security. She mistakenly thought that because she had earned a bachelor's degree, she'd be on a level playing field with others. Although having a college degree did open doors that our families never had access to, she learned that she had a different starting line than others and a race toward financial prosperity. This was a very hard pill for me to swallow when I graduated college after 6 years, while working several jobs throughout the years, including an ice cream place, Home Depot, a hostess at a family friend's Mexican restaurant, all of my teacher unpaid internships, babysitting for over 20 families. I really thought that when I became a teacher, I would have enough money to live my life in peace. I thought I was good to go. I thought the hard part was over. Although I knew I was never going to be rolling in the dough as a teacher, I had no idea that I would be paying almost 40% of my income to student loans. $900 a month, making $1,400 every 2 weeks for 10 months out of the year, not 12 months. Yeah, do the math, that's 38%. It was a disgusting reality check that I wasn't able to get over until my mom started taking over the student loan payments for me like a couple years later. While I paid my student loans, I didn't have enough money to live on my own, leaving me to live with my mom, and my mental health was just down the drain because I felt like a loser and a failure. After graduating college, securing a job, and still not being able to afford life. During that time, I had no concept of money, but I did have 401ks, Roth IRAs, 403bs, and have always had some money saved. While I don't regret spending my money on going out to eat and vacations, I do wish I would have had different spending habits and done more with the little I had. But you live and you learn, and eventually you quit your job and start a podcast. Understanding how to use money effectively is an important life skill that affects every aspect of your life, including where you live, what you eat, and what type of healthcare you have access to. Having money allows you to show up for your family and those you love when you need it. Money gives you the means to have experiences that will enrich your life and buy things that bring you joy. Money brings you financial peace and can preserve your mental health during life's ups and downs. Money gives you options and allows you to live the life you desire. The first two chapters are focused on the unique barriers the first gen community faces in their money journey. Chapters 3 through 7 are the how-to sections of the book that cover the logistics of how money works. The format of the chapters is that she shares a personal anecdote, then some background information on the topic like definitions, and provides useful prompts for you to implement the skills she describes. And at the end of the chapter, she provides recaps. If finances are scary for you, this is a really great start. I actually consider myself to be well versed in personal finance. This is not for me to boast. It's just that Americans are purposefully left in the dark on how to manage their money. Me being knowledgeable speaks more to how trash the US education system is in that aspect. I say all that to say that even though I consider myself to be more well versed than most, I learned a few things from the book. I'm going to list off almost all of the topics Gigi covers throughout the book. So if you hear something you're interested in or something I say strikes a nerve, maybe it makes you feel uncomfy or you think I'm straight up wrong, feel free to read the book and find out what Gigi was talking about. So here are her topics. Hard work does not equal more money. Just be grateful. Quiero y puedo approach. That basically means that if someone's asking you for money, you have to ask yourself, first of all, do I want to? And then you ask yourself, can I? It's two separate questions, and I think that's really important to note. She talks about the scarcity mindset. That used to be my mindset when I was at my lowest from teaching. It wasn't until this past summer, 2023, when I decided to do the podcast that I started to switch to the mindset of money is mine and I'm going to go get it. She also talks about the importance of emergency funds, burnout and acting your wage, paying off debt while you're building savings, effects debt has on your life in an empowering way, not in a shameful way, different types of debts, how to pay it off, outsmarting credit card companies, budgeting steps, different budgeting methods. Pay yourself first works best for me, and that's when you pay all your bills and you treat savings and emergency funds as bills. And so then whatever's left over after you complete the savings, after you've paid off all of your bills, whatever's left over, that's for you to spend freely. Like you can do whatever you want with it. She also talks about tracking your spending. I did this for about 3 months and it was super eye-opening and kept me accountable. And it was an effective way for me to reach my goals. She talks about sinking funds. I did not know what this was, and it's a savings for known irregular expenses like Christmas or your birthday or your mom's, 60th birthday. She also talks about balance transfers. These are my favorite. I love this. This is when you have charged a credit card, and instead of keeping the debt on that credit card and having interest accumulate, you open a brand new credit card that does not have interest and you transfer that money over so that you don't have interest on the new card. There is something that I need to warn you about. If you miss just one payment on that new card that doesn't have interest, they're going to charge you your past interest. So you have to be really careful. Like I'm super anal. I never miss payments. I think I missed a payment once on my credit card. I'm 32 years old. I've had credit cards for like 14 years. Like I think I missed a credit card payment one time and I was like, I called them right up. I'm like, look at my history, bitch. Like I have never missed a payment. Please undo that fee and give me my money back. And they were like, okay. So just be careful of it because it becomes pointless at that point to do that. She also talks about financial abuse, and this is when someone intentionally manipulates, intimidates, and threatens someone by withholding money to gain control. I love that she brought this up. I know that financial self-help books can be jargony, so here are some of the terms that she covers and explains in layman's terms. HYSA versus savings, a high yield savings account, 401ks, 529s. I have 3 of these for my nieces, and these are just savings accounts that the funds go for the child's school. She talks about custodial Roth IRA, that's a savings account for a child's retirement. UTMA, UGMA, those are savings that don't have like school or retirement stipulations. On page 243, there's an amazing chart on tax advantages versus taxable accounts. She talks about tax benefits and trade-offs, snowball method versus avalanche method to pay off credit card debt. She talks about the credit score, what it is, how it's calculated, why you need it. She busts myths about the credit score, and she gives the pros of having good credit. She talks about investing, what it is, and step-by-step directions on how to start. She talks about the stock market and the fear of losing your money, retirement, Social Security, and how we won't have this benefit when we're older. She talks about pensions and how they're a thing of the past. Compound interest. The chart on page 232 is just so eye-opening and encourages young adults to be proactive about their financial future. We have inflation, crypto, life insurance, and the difference between term and whole life insurance. And she talks about retiring your parents. So while she's sharing those topics, she does it in really welcoming, cute ways. Some of the unique features of the book are as follows. Gigi has a resource pack on her website, which I have not had access to, but once I do, I can't wait to see what that's all about. On page 72, she prompts us to seek professional mental health help if we've experienced trauma. She also gives Latinx therapy and clinicians of color. It's important to be seen by doctors within your demographic because they understand you. If you're going to see someone outside of your demographic, that's fine. They just need to be knowledgeable on your experiences. And when have you ever seen that in a money self-help book? She talks about representation and the importance of it. She has some activities which include like pause and reflect and prompts you to calculate funds. Each chapter, she starts off with a money affirmation. I don't want to read all of them because they're really special and I want you to experience them your own if you're going to read them. But some of them are as follows: abundance is coming. I deserve it and accept it. I can achieve what I truly desire. Nice to tell yourself that, even if you don't believe it. She also has the questions you should be asking yourself to meet certain goals, like explicit questions that you need to internally ask yourself. She has financial boundary options. So if someone asks you for money, she'll give you a response if you want to say yes, if you want to say no, or if you want to say maybe I need more time. She provides journaling prompts for you to self-reflect, how to set up auto payment on small recurring charges like Netflix. And lastly, she talks about navigating family expectations and convos throughout the entire book. I really appreciate that Gigi shared those prompts on how to say no to your family members. One of the things that drew me to Gigi's Instagram a few years ago was that she openly talks about family estrangement. Our parents were and even still are living in survival mode. They had to overcome so much, so many hard things like a language barrier, racism, housing and food insecurity, keeping us safe, worrying about family back home, whether that's financially or their physical well-being. Our parents are often overlooked and underserved in the US. They might have the fear of deportation. They get stuck in that mindset, and then they have us, and we grow up without many of those barriers. We know the language, we have papers, our parents have a lot of our basic needs already covered. So we grow up being able to see the damage and pain that that mindset causes to individuals, and we're able to move through it while they're not able to move through it. And I love that Gigi shares that, and that I'm sharing it now through the podcast, because we can all be seen and know we aren't alone in our experiences. Books about Latinos often have a trauma porn aspect to pander to the white gaze, and Gigi does not do this in her book. I think she even shared at one point that she stopped working with someone while writing her book because they didn't want her to use Spanish or something like that. She speaks life into us. She says, as a first gen, you're smart, resilient and resourceful. Repeat this affirmation: I can do hard things. You've accomplished all this with a fraction of the support others have gotten, and you're still here. I love her. The Spanish sayings aren't translated so that non-Spanish speakers can understand. And again, this does not make me happy because we're excluding non-Spanish speakers. I'm happy because it's centering us. It's written for us. We are the intended audience, and that is so fucking rare. And I can't wait for this transition period in the media to be over and done with. One day when I'm like 50, 60, 70 years old, which is like not that far from now, I'll be able to tell my nieces or my own kids how back in my day, there were no Latinos in writers' rooms for Latino shows. And they're going to be in awe because by then, hopefully, these types of things will be, a thing of the past. Another hilarious thing that I loved in the book, and I will be adopting in my personal life, is I will be referring to people as privileged Patty, average Amy, and first gen Gigi. Like, I love that. For the chisme portion of the podcast, I'm just going to be talking about the facts that Gigi shared throughout the book. Like, I didn't have to do any research because she provided it all. According to a Bank of America study, 72% of Latino millennials provide financial support to family, which disproportionately affects our ability to build financial security. If we're busy spending money on our family, we're not able to invest in ourselves and our future and our own families. And so I love that she's just pointing that out. 1 out of 4 high schoolers in the US have access to personal finance education. It's truly a disservice to throw young adults into the real world without at least a basic understanding of the fundamentals, especially when the student debt crisis disproportionately affects people of the global majority who not only carry more debt than their peers, don't have the knowledge to understand how it works, but they also struggle to secure equal paying jobs so they can pay off their debts. Gigi also says this: I also want to acknowledge the role systemic barriers play in Latinos' ability to build wealth. A long history of colonialism in Latin America, discriminatory immigration policies in the US, unequal access to higher education, redlining to gatekeep homeownership from Black and Brown communities, and the pay and wealth gap have made it more difficult to attain wealth and achieve financial success. All these barriers have an impact on our finances, and according to the Federal Reserve, Hispanic households hold 20% less wealth than the median white household. Our people work too hard to have so little. We need real systemic change to overturn discriminatory practices that keep our community from trailing behind others. She also talks about the Latina pay gap. According to leanin.org, the average Latina earns 54% for every $1 a white non-Hispanic man makes. Because of this pay gap, Latinos stand to lose at least $1 million over the course of a lifetime. While we work on a solution to systemically close the pay gap, we can take advantage of investing to help us bridge the wealth gap. Do you see why I love Gigi? Like, do you see why I had to support her? Because we need more people that are like doing what she's doing. I love her. I need to go to Chicago to hang out with her. That's on my 2024 vision board. Is to go to Chicago and hang out with Gigi. Okay, so for Lo Malo, I don't know if Gigi's gonna be listening to this. If you are, Gigi, what's up? I love you. I love this book. I don't have anything negative to say about the book. There are some books I feel like you can tell, especially like, I'm not gonna say it. I feel like you can tell when I don't like a book and I'm like trying to be nice, but like there's really nothing bad to say. I will say I would have liked to see a resource for people who know someone or maybe they themselves are struggling with alcohol addiction. If you listen to my episode of Quit Like a Woman, you know that alcohol is an addictive substance, and I felt like just the coverage of Claire, I just would have liked to see the little excerpt of like, here's a website or a phone number to call if you or someone you know is addicted to alcohol. That's it. Those are the only notes that I have. The next episode will be on the Heaven and Earth grocery store by James McBride. If you like this episode, be sure to subscribe to the podcast and leave a review. New episodes are uploaded on Friday mornings. You can also follow me on social media and YouTube at Chicklet Podcast. And remember, if you have any book recommendations, send them my way. Thank you for listening.